Hi, I'm Jessica Stoya. I'm here with T Real, one of the stars of Pleasure, which is a very interesting film about a very wild industry. T, thank you so much for joining me and taking the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So I first met you at some kind of porn event, and you were an agent and a performer at that time, I believe.
Correct.
And you were also working in independent films.
Correct. Yeah. My backstory is, that's the long short of it is my degree is in business and film. I actually went to film school, got my degree there. I worked on Barbershop, Save Last Dance. My working name is Jason Toler. From there, I was directing music videos and ended up getting an office space, which was the old Playboy building, and ended up booking a lot of playmates for various rap videos. So I was kind of one of the go-to directors of getting girls that were kind of high end at the time into rap videos. And then from there, a lot of those girls ended up kind of making their exit from kind of Playboy and the new modeling world into doing more kind of adult modeling based stuff, right? So that was kind of how I got pulled into it. So I've always worked kind of on both sides of the fence. I've always had hand or investments or acting in some capacity in mainstream films, but I've also had, a performance title, and I've also had an agency, or I've directed on the adult industry as well.
So I feel like you are very uniquely positioned to comment on this film, which is about the adult industry and shows a whole bunch of interactions that a young female performer might have with a bunch of different kinds of people as they're working in porn. How accurate do you think it is? I'm sorry, there's a cat digging his pixel. I'm not right now. Thank you.
Sorry. I mean, it's okay. I think that part of the issue with this film is that it's a film. It's a movie. It's not an actual documentary. It's not a complete accurate portrayal of the industry. It's one person's journey. And, I think that there are definitely people who have worked in this industry that have had experiences similar. So I think that if you look at this film as for what it is, which is a film, telling the story of one particular person's journey, it's very accurate. I think where it becomes a gray area and the lines kind of get crossed is when people, including the people who are kind of marketing the film, were pushing this as if this was like an expose of the industry, or that the people in the industry that were acting in the film were basically just kind of playing characters of themselves. If you work in the industry, you would definitely recognize that some of the characters are based off of people who have worked in the industry. So it's those kind of gray lines and gray areas that have been kind of problematic in the marketing of the film. But the actors who've worked on the film, who are in the adult industry and in the non-adult industry, did a great job, in my opinion.
I thought the acting and the cinematography was incredible. I worked as a female performer myself for several years, and I found the shots from the female talent perspective to be very
remembrance of
yeah.
your experience.
Yeah, like it was like so evocative, like memories. So yeah, but it does, and I understand that even in pornography, but also in the rest of the film industry, the on-camera talent doesn't necessarily get asked about the marketing And it seems like it would make production impossible. Like it wouldn't be possible to say to talent at the beginning, we want you on board with this project that we're going to market this specific way. Is that correct?
Exactly. And I think that's been kind of the issue with, the adult industries, for lack of a better word, problem with the director is that in a lot of the interviews and a lot of the way it was positioned as if these are people in the adult industry kind of being themselves, which is not the case, and specifically for those who aren't portrayed as well for those of the actors who portrayed characters that weren't in the best light, so to speak, that can be very harmful and very disrespectful. If you're playing a villain in a movie and you're doing an amazing job of playing that villain, and then to have someone say, "Oh, that's just so and so being so and so," that a lot can be taken aback by that as an actor.
Is it kind of like an extreme version of the way that porn fans sometimes expect porn performers to be who they are in their porn scenes?
To an extent. I mean, it definitely makes for lack of a better word, it holds a lens to it. I mean, if you see somebody dressed up like Santa Claus, you're automatically going to be put in the mind frame of Christmas and toys and jolliness, right? But you realize that Santa Claus is not real. He's a character. That person is wearing, a fake beard and a red, outfit. So when it comes to people in the adult industry, if the only time you see those people are in a sexual entertainment, vision, it's easy, especially for the entertainment industry that we're in, the adult entertainment industry, it's easy to just put those people in a specific box and not realize that there's a person behind that performance, even if that performance is sexual.
So you were involved in the writing of the film, correct?
Yeah, so I was brought to the attention of, a good friend of mine told me about the project. I spoke with Ninja specifically about kind of what she was trying to do. She said, from our conversations that she wanted to tell a tale about a girl who gets into the industry and what her experiences are. She started off like many directors, and I've been throughout my career that come in and kind of want to pump you for information and ask you what your experiences are because they're trying to still structure what they think their story or documentary is going to be. And then she spoke to me about acting based off my acting career. If you know me, if you look into Jason Toler, I've worked on numerous films and TV shows. And she spoke to me about two characters. She spoke to me character Bear, who's a performer in the industry, and she spoke to me to a character about Mike, who's an agent in the industry. And obviously, with my, I'm in a weird position because I've been an agent, but I've also been talent. So, the breakdown of both of those characters, I was able to see, but there wasn't specifically a script at the time. And she asked me to do some improv with the lead actress at the time. And we did some improv back and forth as both characters. And then I think she came back to me about a month and a half later and said, would you be interested in playing this character of the agent? I'm sorry, of the male performer. And I said, no, I think I would, if I was going to be involved in the project, I would feel more comfortable playing the agent portion of it because, again, I hadn't seen the script. There was not a complete breakdown of what this character's journey was going to be. And I've worked for films and I've worked in Hollywood, so I kind of know how things can go awry from time to time. So without having the full breakdown of the character and having the full script and playing to my knowledge, was going to be the only Black male character in the film, performing the film, I had some reservations, I had some concerns, and I was pretty confident. I had been to Cannes before. I had been to other film festivals. I was familiar with her work a little bit. She had a short she had done at the Cannes Film Festival a couple years back. So I had heard of her, and I was kind of curious as to kind of how this feature was going to be expanded, what she was going to do. So I was, I had my reservations. We sat down and talked about it. And from there, she offered me the role of Mike, which is the agent. And once I started to read into the script, I realized that, wait, this is kind of a hyperized version of another agent in the industry who is well known and not very well liked. So my approach was to look at it from an actor's perspective and say, okay, how can I show the balance of this character? And we ended up shooting 2 or 3 different scenes that unfortunately were in the film, that would have given that character a little bit more understanding, a little bit more balance.
That was something that really struck me about the film, was the balance that Ninja chose to strike. Because in my experience, right, like I'm sitting here, neither of us are going to say it, but I'm pretty sure I know exactly which agent you were using as character influence. Each of those scenes, it was like, yeah, I've experienced something like that, or know someone who's experienced something like that, or heard a story that's credible of someone experiencing something like that. But to have, if I recall correctly, 2 scenes that show the joy of sexual exploration that can happen in the adult film industry, which is what the main character says she's after in the very beginning. And then to have like so many things where it's like, even in a 10-year career, you probably wouldn't experience that many awful things and that few wonderful things. Like the ratio seems off.
Right. And I think that's the dichotomy of the film. I think that, again, it's hard to say and take it, but from my impression of watching the entire film, it becomes hurt people hurt people. From my impression of watching the film, it becomes, it's a letdown because, yeah, everybody works a job and has good and bad days. And there's so many documentaries and, exposés and interviews about the industry that puts everything in such a bad light. The people, the experiences, it makes it seem like everybody's just exploited and on drugs and yada, yada. So when you have a quote unquote mainstream movie that is reaching so many people, has such a wide range, as somebody who works in the industry, you're hoping that there will be a different narrative, so to speak. When you compare a director like Ninja with a director like, Sean Baker, who is, done films that are in the fringes of the industry or tell stories about people that work in the industry, they don't come off so exploitive. They don't come off so negative, in my opinion. So we would hope to see more of those type of stories as people who've worked in the industry and have had some pretty decent experiences. And then also as a filmmaker, it's just like I watch so many movies and I'm so browbeaten of the same old woe is me story of sex trafficking and drugs and this person's been hurt. It's exhausting. So, there was never a complete script that we all got a chance to read through and, kind of, do a rehearsal off of. All of us working on the film kind of got just pieces and said, okay, this is the scene. This is what it is. Give us this, right? So to see all of those pieces put together, to me, it was a bit disheartening. And for a lot of people in the adult industry who worked on it as well, they were not aware that, their segment of the film was also going to be about how difficult this person's experience was. Also going to be about, how this person has been wounded by this experience. Also going to be about how, negative these people have been towards her and these experiences have been. So it was just disheartening.
With your independent film perspective, how reasonable would it have been? Like, let's say hypothetically, at some point you were all given a complete script during rehearsal And some people read through it and said, this doesn't sound at all like what I'd signed up for. I'm pulling out. Like, is that
I think,
considered unprofessional?
I mean, I think it's pretty reasonable. I mean, I've worked on plenty of projects where I've had opportunities to play characters I don't feel comfortable with, and have had to turn down roles or walk away from roles. I worked on a TV show recently where they wanted me to play a gay character. My approach was, you should probably hire a gay male for this character. Now, I've played, been out to play gangbangers, et cetera, et cetera. So, it wouldn't have been that difficult, specifically with so many people who work in the industry and really wanted the opportunity. And I think that, and again, if you haven't seen the film, I'm not bashing it to the point where you don't want to watch it or want to get the experience. If you enjoy films in some capacity, you can watch it and get your own take out of it. For people who worked on the film, though, I think not everybody involved was completely aware of what the complete narrative was going to be. And I don't think they were completely aware of how their character was going to be portrayed based off their performance and the connection of them saying this person's performance is them. That's the problem.
So it is a good film. And it's also very problematic for the adult industry as a package. And being in both worlds, I'm very curious how you feel about being in the film. Are you proud? Are you frustrated? Is it a mixture of stuff?
It's a mixture of emotions. I mean, as an actor, you want to be a part of projects. In all transparency, I had been working behind the scenes of mainstream for so long that I had lost my interest in acting, to be honest. So I just got back into acting, professionally, so to speak, over the last 6 or 7 years. And in that time frame, I've played police officers, I've played, single dads, I've played, the guy who works in the club. Like, I've had an array of different, characters I've been able to portray. For the Mike character that I portrayed in this movie, because I've worked in the industry and because, I had been around the agent that they were, basically basing my character off of, I was able to embrace, my skill set as an actor and embrace the experiences I've had to emphasize that character. So I'm proud of my performance, and I love the fact that people are open to my performance and have sung my praises as an actor. It's unfortunate when whoever, whether it be the director or the marketing company or the distribution company, has tried to portray this as if that character is me. Even though there are some people in the film that are playing themselves. Spiegler, who's an agent, is playing himself. Adrian Starr, who's a director, is playing a version of herself. But again, they're versions of themselves playing their own characters. Where that's not how I am or react when I worked as an agent or when I have my agency. And, I think that there's unfortunately a couple of scenes that got left on the cutting room floor that would have been able to give a little bit more balance to that character. So it's bittersweet. You want to be a part of projects that people are thinking about and resonate with them. And, they talk about when they leave the theaters. I've been a part of several projects that, you kind of forget about once you turn the TV off or after you leave the theater. This has not been one of those projects. So it's definitely bittersweet in that sense. And it's also a nice testament to, our skill set as actors. The young lady who plays a supporting cast did an amazing job. She was nominated for an Independent Spirit Award. Myself, been looked at by other, casting agents for other opportunities. So it's bittersweet in that sense. But, I wish that so many people could just embrace it for being just a film and let it open up a lot of communication or dialogue amongst themselves and their peers and move on from there.
So there's this concept, this guy, Baudrillard, I'm terrible at French. It looks like Baudrillard to me. But it's hyper reality, and it's this like real and fake and real. And that to me is this essence of both American pornography and American professional wrestling. Like it's real, but it's fake, but it's real, but it's fake, but it's real.
Yeah.
And I feel as though Pleasure has added this like extra icing on top to the porn hyper reality cake.
That is a great analogy. It's great. I mean, I've said it amongst my peers in other interviews. You know, there's the WWE and there's the AE. You know, it's all adult entertainment in some capacity, but we're playing versions of whatever our characters are.
Yeah.
I created T-Real as a character. I was very hyper aware of that brand when I first got into the industry. I said, okay, as a performer, I can't compete with the other 50 Black guys that they're hiring on a regular basis. I don't have tattoos, I don't have piercings, I have a 2-foot-long dick. So I have to, and I don't have a sense of, bravado, macho, over top, for lack of a better word, attitude that a lot of guys had back then. My approach was to create a character that was the life of my approach was to make a character that was the guy you wanted to be around, the friend of the friend, the great wingman, the guy that, all the guys want to be with, be around, or be, and all the girls want to be with, right? So I was very hypersensitive to understanding how to create that character and push that character so I would have a long-standing, career. And that's worked for me for the most part. And when a time came when I wanted to retire and move on, I just kind of put that character, back on the shelf and did other things. So, it's definitely a great, analogy that you put in regards to comparing it to like pro wrestling. The adult industry is basically another level of pro wrestling to an extent.
I'm curious. So, are there representations of the porn industry that you think were good? Like, I can think of like Saskia Vogel's Permission, where that was a dominatrix though. But the character like just happened to be a sex worker. And of course it had an effect on what happened in the story, but like it wasn't like salacious. But other than Sean Baker, you mentioned earlier, I don't know of any other examples in film.
And again, I don't. I mean, I'm seeing it like in series like P-Valley, which kind of focuses in on the stripper aspect. But again, as a filmmaker and as a consumer of entertainment, that's what I would like to see more of, and that's what I'm trying to create. That's what I'm trying to be a part of. That's what I'm trying to produce. If you look at kind of the narrative of what they think most even guys in the industry are, I'm the complete opposite of that narrative, right? I wasn't abused. I wasn't, touched when I was a kid. I come from a, 2-parent household. My father went to Harvard. I went to college. Like, I'm the complete opposite of what you would consider or what is the narrative they push for guys in the industry. And I've seen numerous women get into this industry and have amazing lives and have amazing careers based off of what they were able to do from being in this industry. So I would like to see more of those stories, because those stories really interest me more than anything else. How does somebody get into the industry and make it work for them and then succeed outside of the industry or succeed in the industry as a woman? So I would like to be able to see more of those stories, and hopefully as time progresses, we'll all see more of those stories. And I think that was the real hope for this film. The hope for this film, for those who were brought on in the beginning, was that it was going to tell a story of somebody who comes from Sweden, who gets in the adult industry in America, has some pitfalls, but kind of understands that, You're right. She wasn't abused and she wasn't forced in and she wasn't, some damaged soul that, got into the industry and became even more damaged. So to see the film in its entirety is a little disheartening in that sense, especially if you're like so tired of that same story time and time again of this person who goes to these horrible experiences and they become a horrible person because of it, So, hopefully as time goes on in the next, couple months, year, 2 years, we'll start to see more stories that kind of tell the greater version of the adult industry experience.
Let's hope so. Yeah. That would be beautiful. Yeah. I'm going to sit here in silence for a few seconds to see if any more questions come up. But I am very pleased with how this has gone. I think we covered everything. Yeah. I'm sorry I didn't ask at the beginning. Would you prefer I call you Jason?
Yes, call me Jason, please.
Yes. So, Jason, thank you so much. You've clearly thought deeply about everything around this project, and it was wonderful to hear from you about your experiences and thoughts.
Again, thank you for taking the time to talk about it, and thank you for having me. And again, I hope this encourages people to check out the film and have their own dialogue. And definitely feel free to find me on Twitter, Jason May Films, or Instagram, Jason May Films, and talk to me and get more information. And I'm happy to be a part of it. Thank you for having me.